Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive.
Mhm.
Today we're tackling something that feels kind of like it's straight out of science fiction, honestly.
Oh, yeah.
ChatGPT in education. So picture this, classrooms,
All right.
where AI isn't just something you hear about. It's actually like an active part of learning.
Wow.
And that's exactly what we're going to unpack today.
Cool.
Using this really interesting Wikipedia article as our guide. It's called ChatGPT in Education. And it goes into like all sorts of stuff, how it's being used, the controversies it's stirring up, like the whole 9 yards.
Yeah, it's wild how we're seeing this stuff play out, like, right now.
I know, right?
It's not some distant future thing anymore. Teachers and students are already, like, dealing with this, AI in the classroom. And that leads to some pretty big questions.
Huge questions. Okay, so before we like really jump into all of that,
Sure.
let's make sure we're all on the same page here. Like, what exactly is ChatGPT? I feel like sometimes people talk about it like it's magic instead of technology.
Right. It's like magical almost. But really, when you get down to it, ChatGPT is this type of AI. It's called a language model.
Oh.
Basically, imagine like a computer program that's been fed, I don't know, like a zillion books and articles, and it's learned how to understand and generate human-like language from all that. That's ChatGPT in a nutshell.
That is crazy.
Oh, and get this, there was this one study that actually estimated ChatGPT's verbal IQ to be in the top 0.1% of test takers.
Oh, seriously?
Yeah, it could basically outscore like 99.9% of people when it comes to language. Isn't that mind-blowing?
It is mind-blowing, but it also kind of makes me nervous. Like, if AI can write that well, what does that mean for like human writing? Does it even matter anymore?
It's a really good question to ask, and it highlights how this technology could actually like reshape how we think about learning and teaching. I mean, we're already seeing it used in tons of ways, from giving you quick explanations on super complicated topics to helping students come up with ideas for projects.
Yeah, it's true.
It can even offer personalized tutoring too.
Wow, imagine having that when we were in school.
Right.
You're struggling with like a history essay. Just ask ChatGPT for some context.
Yeah.
Or you need a fresh perspective on a science project. It's like having, I don't know, like a super-powered study buddy 24/7.
Totally.
But here's the thing. Is it actually effective? Or is it just like a fancy way to get the same old information?
Well, there's been some really cool research on that. Some studies have actually shown that in certain subjects, ChatGPT can perform, get this, at a level comparable to graduate students.
What? No way.
Yeah, it can analyze this complex information and give these really sophisticated responses.
That's insane. So does that mean like we can all just kick back and let the AI do our homework for us?
Oh, hold on there.
Yeah.
Before you go and dream about that AI-powered easy A, it's important to know that ChatGPT does have, like, its limitations.
Yeah.
Think of it like a really bright student who, sometimes makes silly mistakes, especially in technical subjects like math, for instance. There are some really interesting examples of this. Actually, law students at the University of Wollongong, they actually outperformed ChatGPT on a criminal law exam. It just goes to show you, human understanding is still, like, a key ingredient.
That makes sense. So it's more like a tool, not a replacement for actually, learning the stuff.
Exactly.
But that does bring up a massive concern in education cheating. I mean, everybody is worried about the potential for ChatGPT to be misused, right?
Yeah.
If it can write that well, couldn't students just use it to plagiarize?
Absolutely.
I know experts like Daniel Herman and Naomi S. Barron. They've been pretty vocal about that.
They have. There's a real worry that if students just rely on AI to write their essays, those essential writing skills, ones we all need, those could be devalued.
Totally.
And Barron argues that it might actually make it harder for students to think for themselves, which is a scary thought.
Oh, for sure.
Plus, there's that whole ethical question of, like, can work even be considered original if it was made by AI? These are all questions educators are grappling with, like, as we speak.
It's all so new, isn't it? It's like we're making up the rules as we go along. I remember reading about this professor who wrongly accused his entire class of using ChatGPT. And it turned out the AI detection software had just like misidentified all their work.
Oh, wow.
It's a good reminder of how complicated this whole thing really is.
Totally. And that complexity, it caused a lot of fear early on. A lot of schools just banned ChatGPT outright, like what happened in New York City.
Yeah, and Walla Walla public schools too, right? Yeah, they were worried about plagiarism and, students getting an unfair advantage. But what I find really interesting is how the perspective has shifted in some places. Those same schools, they actually ended up getting rid of those bans later on. They realized trying to like hold back technology, it just wasn't going to work.
It's like they accepted that AI is here to stay, so we might as well figure out how to make it work for us, not against us.
Right. Instead of being afraid of it, they're trying to embrace it.
Exactly.
I like that.
It's exciting, actually, because it leads to this really crucial question. How can we actually use ChatGPT to, make the future of learning better? Instead of just focusing on memorizing stuff or writing those traditional essays,
Yeah.
maybe we can start prioritizing other skills like critical thinking, learning how to use AI ethically,
Yeah.
and using more personalized learning approaches. This is where things get really interesting, I think.
Okay, tell me more. What are educators actually doing with AI in their classrooms?
Well, some professors are just diving right in, like Professor Andrew Maynard at Arizona State University and Professor Jules White at Vanderbilt.
Oh, cool.
They're leading the way. They've created entire courses, full courses, dedicated to teaching students how to use AI tools like ChatGPT well.
Wow.
They call it prompt engineering. It's basically the art of crafting the right prompts to get the best results from AI.
Wait, so there are actual classes on how to talk to AI?
There are.
That's wild.
I know. It's pretty cool. It makes sense, though, right? Being able to communicate with AI is going to be a crucial skill no matter what you end up doing.
For sure.
But that's not the only way AI is being used in education. Professor Ethan Mollick at Wharton, he has a totally different approach. But it's just as interesting. He actually requires his students to use ChatGPT in their assignments.
Really? He's actually encouraging them to use it.
Yeah. And here's the thing. He's noticed that it often leads to better work. Like, the AI helps the students brainstorm, refine their arguments, and in the end, they produce higher quality work. It's almost like having an AI tutor built into the process.
That's incredible. So some educators are actually seeing AI as a way to make learning better, not something to be afraid of.
Right.
But let's not forget the other side of this, detecting AI generated content. There are all these companies popping up now. They're trying to create software that can catch AI writing.
Yeah, it's like a tech arms race, isn't it? It's this cat and mouse game. Companies like Turnitin are kind of leading the way with their AI detection software. But they're not perfect, not by a long shot. In fact, there have been times where Turnitin has flagged student work as AI generated, even though a real person wrote it.
Oh, wow.
Kind of unsettling, right?
Definitely concerning. Especially if it means students are being accused of cheating when they didn't do anything wrong. It just shows how tricky this whole issue is.
Totally. And even OpenAI, the ones who created ChatGPT, they seem to be on both sides of this.
How so?
Well, on one hand, they launched ChatGPT Edu to make it easier for universities to access their tool.
Right.
It's almost like they're encouraging its use. But then they also tried to create their own detection tool called Classifier.
Oh, yeah, but that didn't last long, did it?
Nope. They ended up discontinuing it because it just wasn't accurate enough. It just shows you, even the folks who built this whole AI thing, they're having trouble keeping up with it all. It makes you wonder what's next, doesn't it?
It really does. This has been a really eye-opening conversation.
I agree. It feels like we're at a turning point with education, The way we think about learning and teaching, it's fundamentally changing. What do you think has been the most impactful part so far?
Honestly, it's how fast ChatGPT went from being this novelty to a tool that's causing these really big discussions about the future of education. Yeah. And it's not just about the technology itself, it's about what it means to be educated in the 21st century,
Yeah, that's a great point. And it leads to even bigger questions that we'll keep unpacking as we go deeper into this topic.
Can't wait.
Me too. So, picking up where we left off this whole ChatGPT situation, it really makes you rethink some pretty basic ideas about education, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
Like, if AI can write essays and solve math problems and even, create art and music, what does that even mean for us?
Right. What are we supposed to do?
What skills do we need to, actually thrive in a future where AI can do so much?
Yeah, are we just going to be, obsolete? If machines can do all the hard stuff, what's even left for us?
I wouldn't say obsolete, but we definitely need to, adapt.
For sure.
The skills that are going to matter most now in a world with all this AI are the ones that make us human,
Yeah.
Critical thinking, solving complex problems, creativity, all that stuff. The things that AI still hasn't quite figured out.
So it's not about just knowing a bunch of facts anymore.
Right. It's not about being a walking encyclopedia when you've got the entire internet in your pocket.
Yeah, that's true.
We need to be helping students learn how to think critically, think outside the box, come up with solutions that AI might miss.
So it's almost like AI is pushing us to be more human, not less.
Yeah.
Like, we have to really focus on what makes us different.
Exactly.
So that also means we have to, like, rethink how we measure learning, right?
That's a huge point. I mean, are traditional exams and essays even relevant anymore? If AI can just ace them,
Right.
if a machine can just spit out the right answer, how do we even know if a student really understands something?
Yeah, exactly.
We need to get creative with how we assess real understanding and skills.
So what are some of those, like, alternative ways to test knowledge in a world with ChatGPT?
Well, there are some really interesting ideas out there. One is project-based learning, where students take what they've learned and apply it to real-world problems.
Okay.
That shows they can actually do more than just repeat facts.
Right.
Another option is something called portfolio-based assessment that lets students, like, show off their learning over time instead of just relying on one big exam.
Those sound good, but I can already hear teachers saying, but what about cheating? How do we stop students from using AI to, like, cheat on those projects too?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a tough balance, for sure. We want to encourage collaboration and creativity, but we also need to make sure things are fair.
Right.
It might mean rethinking the whole idea of individual work versus group projects.
Huh.
Or coming up with assignments that require a level of understanding that AI can't fake.
Right. So it's tricky.
It is. But this brings us back to OpenAI, the folks behind ChatGPT. They're kind of right in the thick of it, trying to figure out how to, give people access to this technology while also minimizing all the potential downsides.
Yeah, it's a tough spot to be in for sure.
It's really interesting to watch them try to figure this out. On the one hand, they launched ChatGPT Edu to make it easier for universities to use,
Right.
almost like they're encouraging it. But then they're also aware of all the concerns about cheating. Remember when they tried to make that detection tool called Classifier?
Oh, yeah. What happened to that?
It didn't work out. They had to shut it down because it wasn't accurate enough.
Really?
Yeah, it shows just how hard it is to play this detection game. Even OpenAI, the company that started this whole AI thing, they're struggling to keep up with the consequences.
That is wild. It makes you wonder, like, what's the long game here? What happens if we can't even tell the difference between something a human wrote and something AI wrote?
That is a big question. And we're only starting to really grapple with it. But maybe instead of always trying to, like, police the line between humans and AI, we need to shift our thinking.
Okay.
What if instead of being afraid of AI, we saw it as a partner in education?
A partner. So, like, teaming up with it instead of fighting against it.
Exactly. Imagine AI helping teachers give more personalized feedback, or helping students grasp a tricky concept in a way that just wouldn't work in a traditional classroom. It could free up teachers to focus on the more human side of things, mentoring, supporting students emotionally, sparking their curiosity.
So less time grading papers, more time actually, inspiring students.
Yeah.
I like that. But it also means teachers need to change how they do things, right?
For sure. We're talking about a fundamental shift in what it means to be a teacher. It's less about being the one with all the answers and more about being a guide, a mentor. Someone who helps students navigate this new world of information and AI.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that takes a whole different set of skills,
Right.
which might be intimidating for some teachers.
Absolutely. And speaking of, like, everyone involved, we haven't even talked about how all this affects the students themselves.
Right.
What are they thinking about all this?
It's easy to just assume that all students are the same, that they all just want an easy way to cheat.
Right.
But it's not that simple. Some students might be really excited about AI. They might see it as a way to explore their interests more deeply or get help with subjects they struggle with.
Yeah, that makes sense.
ChatGPT can offer personalized explanations and practice problems. It's like having a tutor available whenever you need one.
It's like that saying, when all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. If we only focus on how students might cheat, we miss all the other ways they might use this technology in a good way.
Exactly. The key is education. Teaching students how to use these AI tools responsibly and ethically, how to think critically about the information they get from AI, how to make it a positive part of their learning.
So who's responsible for making sure that happens?
Right.
Is it the teachers, the parents, the government, OpenAI themselves?
Honestly, it's all of us.
Yeah.
It takes a village to raise a child, and it takes a whole community to figure out this whole new technological world. Teachers need the knowledge and resources to use AI well in their classrooms. Parents need to understand the potential benefits and challenges. And OpenAI, as the creators of this powerful tool, they have a responsibility to make sure it's developed and used ethically and fairly.
So it's not just about the technology, it's about how we use it. the rules we create, the conversations we have about it.
Exactly. And it seems like we're just at the beginning of those
It
conversations.
feels like it, yeah. We've definitely raised a lot of questions here today. I bet our listeners have a lot on their minds now.
I'm sure they do. As we wrap up this part of our deep dive, it's clear that ChatGPT is way more than just a chatbot. It's forcing us to really rethink what learning and teaching even mean in the 21st century.
It's a lot to think about, that's for sure.
It is. Let's take a second to, gather our thoughts. Then we'll dive into the final part of our exploration. We'll try to pull everything together and maybe offer some ideas about where we go from here.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so we're back for the final part of our ChatGPT deep dive. I don't know about you, but I'm like swimming in all the possibilities, but also all the things that could go wrong. It's a lot.
I know, right? It's been a wild ride. From figuring out what ChatGPT even is to talking about, classrooms and cheating and even rethinking what it means to be a teacher. Whew. We've been all over the place.
We have. We've seen how some teachers are like, bring on the AI. They see it as this amazing tool for learning, but others are like understandably nervous about how it's going to shake things up.
Yeah.
But as we wrap up, I'm curious, what's the big takeaway here? What does all this mean for the future of education?
For me, the biggest thing is realizing that ChatGPT isn't just some, flashy new gadget. It's actually making us completely rethink what education even is.
Whoa, okay. Like for centuries, it's all been about passing knowledge from teacher to student. But now we've got AI that can access information on a scale we can't even imagine.
Right.
So that old way of doing things, it just doesn't work anymore.
So are we saying goodbye to textbooks and lectures?
Yeah.
Is everyone going to become a prompt engineer, spending their days just asking AI questions and trying to understand the answers?
Well, it's not necessarily about getting rid of everything we know about education.
Okay.
It's more about shifting our focus. If AI can do all the memorizing and information gathering, we humans can concentrate on things that make us different. Critical thinking, creative problem solving, empathy, communication, all those things AI still can't really do.
I like that. It's not about being less human because of technology. It's about being more human.
Exactly. It's about realizing that education isn't just about cramming facts into your brain. It's about developing skills and ways of thinking that will help you thrive in this crazy, always changing world. And maybe, just maybe, AI can actually help us do that better than ever before.
That's a really optimistic way to look at it.
Yeah.
But I can already hear people saying, okay, sure, that sounds great in theory, but how do we actually make that happen?
Well, first, we need a change in mindset.
Okay.
Instead of seeing AI as a threat or like a way to cheat the system, we need to see it as a partner in learning. Teachers can use AI to personalize lessons, give specific feedback to each student, and that frees up their time to focus on, those higher level thinking skills and building those important human connections that AI can't do.
And for students, AI could help them explore their own interests more deeply, get help when they're stuck, and learn those really important digital skills that they'll need no matter what they do in life.
Exactly. It's a win-win situation.
Yeah.
Humans and AI working together to make the whole educational experience better for everyone.
Okay, I'm on board. This is exciting stuff. But let's be real. This kind of change doesn't happen overnight, right? There are going to be challenges like funding, teacher training, people just resisting change.
Oh, for sure. This is a long process, not a quick fix. It's going to take open and honest conversations between everyone involved, teachers, policymakers, parents, students, even the tech companies that are creating these tools.
Right.
We have to be willing to experiment, to adjust, and to learn from our mistakes as we go.
And we can't forget about the ethical stuff, which we've talked about a lot today. We have to make sure AI is used responsibly and fairly in education.
Absolutely. We can't let it make existing biases worse or mess with student privacy.
Right.
Ethical guidelines and safeguards are crucial. We always have to ask ourselves, are we using AI in a way that benefits all students, or are we accidentally creating new inequalities? These are hard questions, but we have to deal with them if we want an education system that's fair for everyone.
So as we finish up, I have this feeling of excitement, but also a little bit of worry. The potential of AI in education is huge, but there's also a lot that could go wrong.
Yeah, I feel that too. We're at a crossroads, and the choices we make now will have a big impact for a long time. It's exciting and a little scary to be living through this time of such massive technological change.
It is. But you know what? I'm choosing to be optimistic. If we approach all of this with curiosity, a willingness to work together, and a commitment to making sure every student can succeed, I think we can use the power of AI to create an education system that's more engaging, more effective, and fairer than ever before.
Couldn't have said it better myself. This isn't just about adapting to new tech, it's about reimagining what it means to be educated and empowered in the 21st century.
Well said. And on that note, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the world of ChatGPT in education. This is just the start of the conversation, and we hope you'll keep exploring, keep asking questions, and keep thinking about the ideas we've talked about today.
The future of learning is happening right now, and we all have a role to play, so stay curious, stay informed, and stay engaged.
Until next time, happy deep diving, everyone.